Our webinar today is increasing value to SPS members through IEEE humanitarian activities and the special interest group excuse me, on humanitarian technologies. So before we begin, I'd like to kind of go through the agenda of our webinar today and our ground rules. So we're going to be having a 1-hour webinar. All lines are going to be muted for the duration of our webinar today. If you would like to submit a question during the event, we will have some time at the end of the session to review them. So please use the Q&A panel on your screen and select all panelists so that we make sure everybody on our panel sees the question. And lastly, as you may see, our session is being recorded to be distributed to our SPS members in the future. So I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Sampath Veeraraghavan. He is the Senior Technology and Program Management Leader with Alexa Artificial Intelligence Group at Amazon. He is best known for his technological innovations in addressing global humanitarian and sustainable development challenges. And he has successfully launched large-scale transformational global initiatives that brought together academic institutions, industries, and government agencies to address pressing global challenges facing developing nations and improve the living conditions of children with disabilities, impoverished women and students from marginalized communities. He is the current chair of the IEEE Humanitarian Activities Committee, and he also previously served as the global chair of the IEEE Special Interest Group on Humanitarian Technologies. So at this point, I'd like to welcome Sampath to begin his presentation. Sampath?
Thank you, George. Thanks a lot for the welcome, and also quite excited to be here. Greetings to all the SPS chapter leaders and members who are able to either join us today or listen to this recorded video. Let me go ahead and bring my slide. So, okay. Awesome. So, why you are all here today, right? So this webinar, primarily I want to play the role of Santa Claus. So we are going to first learn about, what is IEEE Humanitarian Activities Committee and what kind of opportunity that is available, why it is important for SPS members to involve in the programs offered by IEEE Humanitarian Activities, and how does this actually opens up a lot of complementary avenue benefiting the SPS society, and that's what we are going to look into today. So with that, without any further ado, let's quickly look into what are the areas we're going to cover as part of this talk today. So before we get started, what if there was an IEEE activity where nearly all respondents, almost 95%, are likely to renew their IEEE membership, where 70% say that participation in the activity has a strong influence on their likelihood to renew their membership, where 91% are likely to participate in the activity the following year, where close to 90% are satisfied with their participation, and where about 87% say that others have become part of the membership because of their experience participating, right? So this is what you heard today, is that thankfully we do have that activity, and that activity is Humanitarian Activities Committee. I mean, this is what you are seeing here is the survey results where the participants have recorded their experiences and rated how impactful it is for them to be part of the programs offered by HAC. So with that brief note, let's first focus on what is IEEE Humanitarian Activity Committee, and what is this word we keep on hearing, IEEE HAC and IEEE site, how they are interconnected. So the first segment of this presentation, we're going to get a 360-degree view of what is HAC, what are the what are the various programs we offer, and probably even we'll touch upon a couple of benefits as well. So IEEE Humanitarian Activity Committee, we are a global committee. We report to the IEEE Board of Directors, and the mandate for our committee is to offer a portfolio of global programs to inspire, connect, and engage IEEE members like you so that you could leverage your technical skills and apply them to solve socially relevant problem faced by your local community. In a nutshell, these programs are 100% in alignment with the larger vision of IEEE, and the goal here is we want to provide you an complementary avenue to put your skills and leadership talent into action to benefit your local community. Let's talk about few keywords here, right? First, what is humanitarian technology? What is sustainable development? So it's quite important to address that before we talk about what are the other offerings, because sustainable development today means that these are broad class of problems or challenges, global challenges faced by like in general the community at large. Actually, an example here could be like energy poverty, food security, poverty itself, access to good digital health, and access to clean water. These are some examples. So this is what sustainable development actually reflects basically, right? And how as a technologist we are going to put our skills to solve these grander challenges is what this programs is all about. Now, IEEE HAC is focused on four important strategic areas. The first one is raising awareness. So we provide a lot of outreach programs so that we can increase the public visibility as well as understanding of how IEEE members like you can participate in these programs and create more awareness on the role of engineers in addressing the sustainable development challenges. Second, we provide training. We provide educational resources and opportunities so that the humanitarian technology participants can have a greater positive impact. I mean, we'll be talking about that. What is a hack project? What kind of projects comes underneath it. But the bottom line is, if you're a student or if you're a young professional, there's a plenty of material that is available right now in our website, and we also offer materials in courses in IEEE Learning Network, which is free for IEEE members, which will teach you skills or provide you opportunity to upskill your talent specifically in participating in the humanitarian engineering programs. Thirdly, we provide project funding program. As I said earlier, if you can identify a local community and then if you can come back with the technical solutions to address their needs, absolutely you can put up a proposal to HAC. And today we fund up to $5,000, US dollars, to support such projects, and we will also look through some of the examples if time permits today. But I think, but definitely we'll look through some samples about about what kind of projects we are talking about. How, as an SPS members, you can actually submit a proposal. We will definitely will be touch upon and in the upcoming segments. Lastly, HAC wants to actually build a global community, right? We want to create a global ecosystem through partnerships within the realm of IEEE and outside of IEEE, so that we could make IEEE to be a world leader in the sustainable development space, right? So in a nutshell, these are the four major focus area of HAC, and our website is hac.ieee.org. You can find information about our programs and the other global offerings there. Now let's talk about, like, as I mentioned earlier, we offer a portfolio of global programs, and one of the very popular program that is offered by HAC is called as IEEE Special Interest Group on Humanitarian Technology, also called as SITE. So essentially the idea here is we actually wanted to bring together IEEE member, the local community, and the local partnering organization, which could be a non-profit organization or could be other agencies, so that collectively all these three different pillars work together so that they could leverage technology and solve the problems faced by the local community. So SITE is actually the feet on the ground initiative which actually make the HAC's vision to happen on the ground actually, right? So in a nutshell, it provides a network to bring together IEEE members, the local community and the local partners basically. And I'm also very, very proud of this program because as George pointed out, I served as the global chair between 2019 and 2020. So We started around 4,000 members in 2019 early. We ended the year with 10,000. And today you can see that from 4,000 to almost 27,000, close to 27,000 in about 130 countries. So that's actually a record breaking growth. That's because, we are, the value that is developed by HAC, that is not only very very impactful, especially for our student and young professional members, but it also provides a very very complementary avenue to engage fellow senior members from several society in mentoring capacities or project reviewers and so forth. So if you are part of an SPS chapter today, and if check out first, whether do you have a site group, within your local section. Do you have enough people, who have interest to put your technical skills into action? Then, we need 6 people, IEEE members, to start a site group. And you can start a site group within your, section, your chapter, or even within your, society itself, and this program has been there for well over 10 years. We just celebrated, last year our 10th anniversary. And again, this is a member benefit program offered by HAC, and the website for this program is site.ieee.org. And you can see it's a very, very truly global program. We have almost doubled down on our presence since 2018. I would say we had about 112. Now we are close to more than 200, marching towards 210 or so forth. So you can see the strong global presence. Now think about the possibilities. What if we also start putting all the SPS chapter on here and see if they could start collaborating in some of these projects on the ground? Think about the impact, what we could deliver collectively, right? So that, I think, it's a possibility. I want everyone, the SPS leaders on the call, to think about, what you can do, on that. So with that, first segment, introducing you to HAC and what is site. Now let's look into why IEEE HAC is very, very crucial for the larger vision of IEEE, which is to advance technology for the benefit of humanity. Let's look through some examples there. Okay. Now, what is the first step here? The first step is, if you're an IEEE member, whether a student member or a higher grade member, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can register yourself freely for the site membership. It's readily available to you. So go and register for that. And what is the benefit of doing so, right? There are 6 major benefits, directly, right? The first one is, as I said, training and awareness. So once you register, you could get access to all these educational resources which is available for you, and you could actually watch those videos or participate in some workshops offered by HAC, like the one what we are doing today, and you get to know about the program and gain some skills on that, right? Second, you can then even create a site group, and then you can start actually working on a project, a real world project, which potentially could be funded by us, right? And then that also provides a complementary avenue for you actually to upskill your talent, whether it's technical skills or leadership skills, right? Because if you're a student, in a nutshell, this project provides an out of the classroom experience for you to leverage your skills and put it into a real world scenario or real world problem. Also, it helps you to be better prepared to onboard to the industry, right? For example, we teach you the art of how do you interact and coordinate with multiple stakeholders, right? And how do you design a program? How do you do a budget forecasting? How do you do a schedule forecasting? How do you do a risk evaluation? These are the skills you typically gain when you are in the industry. I mean, you kind of are able to get a precursor and also to practice it as part of these site projects, actually, HAC site projects. And most importantly, there's a stronger connectivity here, for all of us. We have a passion to help the marginalized community, right? So personally, my journey started with IEEE as a student involved in devising technological solutions for disabled children. So that is why in the last 2 decades I have spearheaded more than 20 plus global community, within IEEE. That's primarily because of the connectivity where I had with the larger vision. How can personally my efforts can contribute towards the greater purpose. So that, I think, is one of the strong factors with HAC offers to these programs. And lastly, as I said, we have an amazing partnership within the realm of IEEE, more than 30 plus partnership engagement. And also we are actively engaged with establishing partners with industries and world leaders in the sustainable development space, like United Nations and so forth. So you will be part of this global network as well. So these are the major benefits what you get being part of, being the take the site membership and being part of, the HAC's journey. Now let's talk a little bit more about the context on humanitarian technology and sustainable development. I mean, I gave a very brief 20-second primer on that in the previous slides. So what I would like to call out here is that, primarily, the humanitarian technology and sustainable development, as I said earlier, it's basically connected to the global challenges, right? These global challenges are universal in nature, and these challenges are represented by means of, the sustainable development goals represented by the United Nations. And you can see here there are about 17 SDG goals, and each goal has a specific target that needs to be achieved. So again, when we say humanitarian technology or sustainable development, essentially you are coming out with novel innovations or solutions, engineering solutions to address the needs. But as an engineer, for us, this provides a tremendous opportunity, right? Because the need drives the innovation. It's basically the, innovation. The need is the mother of the necessity is the mother of innovation, right? So if you look through it, the 17 broader, thematic areas, even if you can invent a solution, it's universal. It should be scalable. It will have a far large impact, So it's a huge blast radius of impact. So that's why it's very important why as a technologist we need to pay attention. As an engineer IEEE member, this resonates very well with our larger vision, and we wanted to participate in this kind of programs. Well, let's talk about what are the unique value proposition that HAC offers, to some of, both to our members in terms of experience and also what kind of solutions we offer to these grander challenges. First, I think HAC offerings can provide a greater value proposition to existing and prospective volunteers, because it provides a very unique opportunity to use one's own technical skill set to address the local challenges, which resonates with many on a personal level. And also, once you are engaged and passionate volunteers, I mean, it actually help us to drive the larger vision and the sustainability of your IEEE organizational units, right? All right. Second thing, we provide a very unique opportunity to attract new members by showing them what the value of IEEE members, right? For example, if you do a project, I mean, then the project demonstrate how it impacted the local community. I think that's a far impactful story to create public visibility, both on the role of engineers and also to attract the next generation of students and young professionals to join IEEE, right? Lastly, how can HAC help your operating unit? How can we help SPS? I mean, that's why we are here today, right? Our goal is win-win. We are just like, we wanted to provide this portfolio of programs and activities that can help SPS to achieve organizational vitality, provide complementary member engagement opportunities at grassroots, increase the networking for SPS members, and foster more collaboration at grassroots, at chapter level, and increase public visibility on the amazing work that SPS members can do for the larger vision of IEEE. So these are the way how HAC adds value proposition to our partners, and specifically, I would say in this context for SPS. And you can see here, some, interesting data here, there's about like, I mean, I started the slide, I gave you, some impact numbers from a recent survey. I'm not going to repeat it again here, but you can see that, majority of the project participants, which are students, young professionals, they're extremely happy. As I called out earlier, out of the 27, close to 27,000, 70% of site members are students and young professionals. So it talks about how important this is for the next generation of leaders for IEEE, So that's why I think it's very important to participate in these programs. Second, I want to see here, like, engaging volunteers through alignment between personal purpose and activities, right? So I think here also we conducted a survey, and you can see why people wants to participate in our programs, right? Primarily, first you can see here about 85%, like 84% wants to give it back to the community, and about close to 80% they said that they want to experience the humanitarian engineering field. Hey, this is pretty cool. I can devise something and I can also put into action. That's pretty cool. I can measure my success actually, right? 67% they want to make a difference, and 50% said they want to promote social justice. So all this thing clearly talk about how 90% agreed, close to 90% agreed that it has helped them to not only gain valuable experience, but also help them to expand their perspective of the world and of the field actually. Now let's talk about how we are nurturing the IEEE leaders of the future, right? And you can see here out of the 27,000, about 71% are students and graduate students. And as you can see from the age demographics here, how this has been split into. And and you can see it's not only we are catering to the students, but we are catering to the expectations and the needs of all categories of IEEE membership. You can see here from fellows to senior members to life member, everybody have an opportunity to engage and contribute. So in a nutshell, this becomes a very very complementary avenue to strengthen and to contribute to the growth of partnering programs like SPS. Now let's say how HAC offers a win-win model, right? So first, by hosting a humanitarian technology project program, you could actually increase your OU vitality. As I said, it inspires, it connects and engages your members to participate, right? Second, it provides an expanded value proposition for existing and prospective members, and it aligns with how IEEE members would like to volunteer, right? You maybe you have a expertise in certain area, but you always have a passion that you wanted to contribute towards, right? So this is how HAC programs provides that framework for you, independent or irrespective of your technical background or geographic background. Actually, you can come forward if you have the passion with like-minded people, so that you could leverage and create an opportunity to put your skills into action. Now, the benefits to collaborating or coordinating with HAC for your program, you don't need to reinvent. How do I design these programs? How do I make sure I can train my members? What are the resources they need? How can I find mentors for them? You don't need to reinvent this entire thing, because HAC provides the package for you. We have readily available educational materials to train our members, and we also provide programs, process, infrastructures, and whatnot. We have the best lessons learned over the years. How do you design and deliver the humanitarian programs on the ground? And with that, how can HAC help you by offering a very very portable and plug and play approach based on the experience over the years, so that SPS members could successfully drive humanitarian technology programs at the grassroots level. Okay, so far we have been talking about the value proposition part. How the collaboration with HAC is a win-win for SPS. Let's specifically talk about some of the examples of IEEE HAC and some of the other IEEE society collaborations which is undergoing. So you can see here one example of a project jointly funded between IEEE HAC and MTTS Society. And you can see here, this project basically focused on creating remote solar photovoltaic energy monitoring system. And this was done in India. And one of the challenges they had there is, they had a lot of solar panels which were installed in the remote villages, because they wanted to provide reliable energy, renewable energy, and also a reliable source of energy which could benefit the marginalized community. But the problem is that they wanted to make sure that they have proper monitoring solutions in place, so that they could actually periodically can check on the solar panels conditions to make sure or they are operating properly. If not, they wanted to proactively take efforts to address it. So this project was primarily done by the students of the local student branch and the local MTTS society chapter members, and also they worked with the local sections and so forth. So this is an example how the students basically came back with a project which is technical, which is core technical, but also primarily it's driven based on the needs of the local community, right? Because the need of the local community here is to need the solar panels. Then only they will be able to get that reliable source of energy to drive supporting the needs of the local community. So this is one example. The second example here is IEEE Electron Devices Society. They partnered with us, and in fact, last year, we had a joint project program where we specifically invited the EDS chapters to the world to apply for funding up to $2,000. This is in addition to the regular $5,000 what HAC offers directly. So through these programs, about 11 proposals from 6 countries and 3 regions were submitted as part of the pilot, and 6 proposals were funded. Again, another complementary avenue, right? So the idea here is we want to use the best-in-class technology from your society to use for the grander challenges, right? So that's also strongly aligned with the larger vision of IEEE, right? And now, most recently, we just closed another collaboration yesterday, our first call for, with the IEEE Antenna Propagation Society, where we again solicited projects from APS chapters toward the world so that they could utilize APS relevant technology to address local community challenges. And here we wanted to provide funding up to $3,000 per project. So we have received 15 proposals, and the funding decisions will be made shortly. Now, okay, what is in store for me? This is what I want to play the role of Santa Claus right now and show you how you could participate and what are the opportunities that's available for you right away. So first, we just opened as of this morning. Yesterday, we started accepting applications for funding. So this is a direct qualifier, provided by IEEE Humanitarian Activities Committee. So this is primarily like, we are looking for projects where it's very community centric, but at the same time, technology is the primary component. And, we are looking for such projects which will address the local community needs. So the project range is typically ranges from $1,000 to $5,000. And the term of funding is about 6 months. The deadline for our first call for proposal is 4th April. So this is probably the direct call for what we are offering right now in this quarter. But then we also are going to continue to work with regions and societies. So if SPS is interested, we may also explore the possibility of having additional joint collaborations with SPS to roll out additional joint avenues. But for all the chapter leaders on the call today, definitely make use of this opportunity. Go to our website hac.iee.org and then look through the application process. And I'll be also showing you some examples later as part of this webinar. How to submit a proposal. Second thing is volunteer. As I said, right? If you are a more senior member or experienced person, I would say why not? If you don't have the time to do a project, but you do have the passion to serve, you can serve as a project reviewer. And all it needs is we have a training session. And what you can do is you can actually complete the questionnaire. We have a questionnaire that you could apply for. We review it, and then we kind of select the reviewers as part of this, as part of our process. So okay, sounds good. And what else we can do? I think one area we'll touch upon later is that if the chapters are interested, if SPS also have conferences, we could also conduct workshops. We can provide virtual workshops. We can come and provide in-person workshops. Whatever benefits the SPS members, we'll love to do that. And also, if the chapters have newsletters, we can also provide you a blurb about all the offerings what we have, so that you can pass on that information, this information benefiting your members. At the same time, you can also register as a site member so that you could get communications directly from us as well, so that you are very informed about these opportunities. Okay, now so far we have been talking about a lot of great things about what HAC has been offering. Specifically, now I would like to touch upon what do you mean by HAC site proposal, and how to write a winning proposal. Where to start, right? So think of a project or a proposal. It should be focused on a feet on the ground initiative, and as I said earlier, that needs to apply technology as a principal component. But it has to be connected purely by the need of a local community, right? Local here is defined by the fact that the key leaders of the projects are to be the citizens or permanent residents of the area where the project would take place. I live in US, but I'm originally from India, so even though I mentor a lot of teams, when I want to submit a project, I want to submit it based on my local region here, where I am based out of, right? I can, of course, mentor and guide the folks from uh, um, my chapters in India, which I'm aware of. But I think primarily, it has to be at the grassroots level, at the local level. And this proposal should always have a strong community input and partnership. And it's always better that, for you to sit with the local community, identify a community, understand the needs, then see how the technology is relevant. Sometimes, as an engineer, we are experts in certain domains, so we try to do the top down approach where we say that, okay, I'm going to take this technology and provide a solution for them without even understanding some cases what is the real need, whether the technology is applicable or not. So that's why these projects are purely has to be working backwards, and it has to be community centered with with the technology, with the technology as a catalyst, basically, that provide a good use of IEEE expertise. I mean, if you take IEEE, like, there are a lot of things, right? We talk about technology, we talk about our experts, we talk about mentors. So I think you wanted to make sure that the project actually demonstrate that the members can put their leadership skills and technical skills into action. And again, purely these projects are not humanitarian. Even though our committee says humanitarian activities committee, it is very, very inherent and imperative to understand that it's a humanitarian technology activities committee, right? Because IEEE means technology, so it's very inherent. So every activity or project that you want to do under HAC, there has to be a technology component. That is very important. And of course, your project will have several components to it. For example, the first stage is you may want to engage with the local community to understand, to get to know them well, to understand their needs. Second thing is, then you may want to actually understand what is the technology relevant from the field of SPS. And then you could probably either create a new technology, or you may adapt an existing technology and customize it. And then you wanted to deploy your technology. So there are various stages to it, right? But the call out here is, make sure these are completely technology centric. These are not pure humanitarian efforts. Pure humanitarian efforts is something like you are providing something as a giveaway, with no technology involved there. So we don't support that kind of projects. And it also important to focus on what is the need you are addressing, what is the short-term need you are addressing, how it's going to contribute towards a long-term impact. You want you to focus on the sustainability of your project results, actually, right? And the primary applicant must be an IEEE member. Could be a member grade, senior member, or fellow in good standing with a connection to an IEEE OU. And again, the IEEE HAC funds never leave the IEEE fabric. Essentially, the money gets transferred. If it's approved, your project is approved, it transfers to a chapter or a local section, and then you are accountable to submit your bills and everything. So it's within the ecosystem here. And more important call out here is, we don't fund salaries, we don't fund gifts as well. So if you want to develop hardware or software component, whatever is needed to implement your project, we will do that. Some cases we also provide a very, very small amount of funding for travel or so forth. But I think the majority of the funding is to actually implement your project. So keep that in your mind. So tips for being successful, right? So I think read the call for proposal to determine first, your idea fall within the scope of this funding opportunity, and make sure your team, who are your team members, whether they are very eligible, necessary eligibility to be participate in these programs. And we provide templates which are required to completed in our online proposal system. So you can review them ahead of time, actually, to see what are the questions and what kind of information you need to gather to complete, and create a strong proposal. And there are additional resources we offer in our HAC website to help you to be successful, to put up a very strong proposal. First, we provide a proposal checklist, which will tell you, what are the various criterias, as the proposal is subjected to the review process, what are the key factors we look into, and we want to provide you a checklist which will help you to make sure that your proposal covers the necessary information. We also have a question and answer, a recorded Q&A also to help you to know what are the common pitfalls in completing the new project assessment metrics. So we provide an assessment matrix which will tell you what is the goal, what is your metric, how do you measure the success of that goal, what are the KPIs, key performance indicators, how do you measure your success, how do you demonstrate your success both qualitatively and quantitatively. And also we give some sample presentations on what are the characteristics of a great proposal. And a training presentation was also held, most recently. But if you have enough interest, if your chapter needs further guidance, we'll be happy to either organize additional workshops, or even we can help you to connect with the local site groups, which can also help you out. Most importantly, before you put up a proposal, I think it's important that you take the courses available in IEEE Learning Network. There are 6 different courses offered by HAC today in Ireland, and there will be additional courses as well. That's we are planning to add by end of this year. So these are some resources that's really available to us, and ways to get involved. Let's talk about that, right? So as I said earlier, first thing is, if you are not a site member, register for it, and you can add site member to your membership. Take part in the online courses what is offered by HAC in the IEEE Learning Network. Form a site group, as I said earlier. See if you have a site group in your local section, or your local region, or like your local chapter. So if not, think about the possibility of creating one, and submit your projects to the ongoing Qualifier proposals. And also, we also have a site fund, typically with the IEEE Foundation, and the fund is again put back on the society partnership to empower more students and young professionals and IEEE members to participate in these programs. So that's a key benefit as a member for you, right? Now let's talk at the OU level, like for what is in store for SPS, right? So if we have a newsletter, I would say the first thing is, publicize these opportunities for collaborations, and so that your members could benefit by that. And we are already doing that today, by means of this webinar. We are trying to create visibility to SPS members on this complementary avenue that is available to you and your members. Second, we could continue exploring the possibility of a joint funding program along with the SPS. Can we actually have an exclusive funding program in addition to the one that is offered by HACs? Can we have something targeted towards the SPS chapters? Third, I think we have our flagship summit called as IEEE Global Summit, and you could be part of that either as a presenting your work, or you could also dial into listen to the great works done by our members throughout the world. Typically, this summit has attracted the world leaders in the sustainable development space. For instance, last year we had the United Nations ITU General Secretary, Minister from Costa Rica, and Father of Internet. Many of the industry key, experts joined us here. So it again provides a great networking opportunity, and also to demonstrate your work in a global scale, in a global platform like that. So there's a lot of avenues there. And before I open the questions here, I think I wanted to show you a few examples to you before I come here. Few resources, how do you submit the proposal? I just wanted to spend a few minutes there so that I can go back and then start taking questions. So how do you submit an HAC site proposal, right? So if you go to our website, first I think you have to submit the applications via our portal. And this entire slide, what I'm presenting today, is going to be available to you in a PDF format. So definitely leverage that material. If you have further questions, write to us. So what you need to do is go to our website first, and then you create a new account. And once you apply, then navigate to the apply page, and you can see here, once you are here, we talk about different areas, and then what you do is you begin the application, and you complete all the necessary, fields here. Just go back a little bit. Okay, so you begin the application, and see there's a question list here, and there's a collaborate here. So make sure you fill in your team member name, and then you also address all the necessary fields as part of the application. And then we also want you to fill in a matrix, basically, like, I mean, essentially as part of the process, we want you to provide a budget template where you need to very specifically call out what are the components you are buying, what is the cost for it. It's always better to give a reference. If you are finding it in a website, make sure that you put the reference there as well. And then finally you complete everything, and then you kind of like, submit the application. What one key information we always look as part of our application process is project assessment metrics. As I was telling earlier, I think for every project there's a goal, and we want to make sure the goal also have a metric which will help you to measure the success of your goal. If you can't have a metric, then it's quite debatable to demonstrate your growth and success, right? So you need to have a metric. That's what this project monitoring, what we are doing. And also we have a course available in IEEE Learning Network right now. You can look through it. It talks about how do you create a goal, how do you define a metric, and how do you make sure you can measure your short-term versus long-term, needs. An example here, output is something like, I am doing this project, so because of which, say, some 100 people getting benefited. That's a direct output, but say the outcome is, because I installed solar panels in the local community, it benefited 100 families. Because of that, now there is about another like 50 students are able to have extended period of time attending going to the school, or it reduced the number of school drops out. I mean, these are kind of an outcomes, right, towards the long term, right? So you have to list some of the KPIs and how you are going to calculate your metric, and where do you start from. Basically, some cases you may start at, say, 100, and you may want, I mean, your baseline is, say, you're targeting with 100 people in the community, but this will grow to help and benefit 200 people. So you may want to do that relative comparison as well, how this is going to help you to deliver that impact. So there's a lot of examples here. You can go through them, but one example here is like, I want to provide, solar powered rechargeable batteries for a local community. About 45 families will get benefited, and how it is measured. The local partner and NGO is going to collect some surveys to that data, and how this is being reported, through our project framework. So pitfalls: make sure you clearly add an objective, make sure you complete your assessment metrics, and make sure entering the actual column. I mean, in some cases people in a rush, they forget to complete many of these fields, so make sure you don't do that. And putting dates in any of the cells, and then, as I said, short term versus long term. Clearly understand what's your output versus outcome, and make sure your outputs and outcomes are very, very measurable. For example, my project is going to benefit 50 families. That's measurable. My project will benefit marginalized people. That's not measurable, right? Because it's not quantifiable. Although we get the intention, the good intention, but we want to make sure you can demonstrate as an engineer, you can quantify your social impact. Okay, and so just an overview here. What happens after you submit a proposal? It is subjected to two-stage process, a review process. And during this process, our projects team will be in touch base with the applicants. We'll ask a ton of questions if we need clarity on additional questions, if we need any clarifications on it. Then once the proposal looks good, it's then reviewed by IEEE Office of Risk and Insurance Management to make sure there's not any legal risk or other risk, to safeguard both the interest of the volunteers as well as the IEEE larger interest of IEEE. And then IEEE legal will review it, and then finally will give an approval. And once your project is approved, basically then what happens is that the money is transferred to your local section or chapter, and you have to, as the project owner, you are accountable to support routine reports on the progress, and you will be assisted by the project monitoring committee of HAC, which will monitor your progress, and if there are unforeseen risk that comes up, it will help you to de-risk that with the mitigation plans and so forth. So it's a very, very, very streamlined process, as you can see here, reducing the risk, at the same time maximizing the overall impact. So that's probably like a complete 360-degree deep dive as well into our like how do you apply for a funding program and what are some of the resources. So with that, this is our website. As I want to reiterate here, hac.ieee.org, site.ieee.org, and write to us. Again, if your chapters need guidance or help to, if you have questions, write to us. We are here to serve you, you know. And as I said, the goal for HAC is to inspire and engage IEEE members. So we are here to serve you all. That's why, we are looking forward to foster this partnership with SPS. So with that, I want to really thank you again, the SPS leadership team and the staff team for giving us this opportunity to present about HAC today to you all today. I hope the session is helpful and useful for you all, and we are really looking forward for the SPS chapters to participate in our first call for a proposal, and looking forward to work with the SPS leadership to roll out some joint programs this year to benefit the larger interest of SPS members globally. So with that said, thank you, and I will open the floor for questions right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sampath. That was very interesting and very informative. We did receive a question. It's a three-part question for now. So the first section is, for a site group, is there a limit to one-on-one per section or chapter? Meaning, can I create a new site group even though there's already a site group that exists within the section? And then the next part is, what is the procedure for creating a site group?
Okay, great. Okay, so I think about, right. I mean, first of all, there's no limitation, but I think the general rule of thumb is if you already have a site group, why should you reinvent the wheel? I mean, maybe like you want to work with them to understand what they are working on. For example, if I have a site group which is specifically focusing on one aspect of a community, maybe if you're interested to serve a different aspect of the same community, it may be better to join hands with the existing one, right? Because you already all have a pool of resources and members who could help you out. There's going to be continuity. But with that said, nothing stops you. I mean, if you have a site group at a section level, say you want to create one for your university level, of course you can create one. Maybe you wanted to focus on problems, a different class of problems, and you wanted to help your members. Second, if you want to create a site group, as I said earlier, you need 6 IEEE members, and you can create a site group in 3 different flavors today. You can create it at a student chapter level, you can create it at a section level, and of course you can create it at a society level as well. So there are different options, and you just have to go to the site.ieee.org, and there we have a clear, well-defined process. How do you create a petition to create a site group? And then you submit the petition to the site steering committee, which then evaluates your petition, and then it gets approved. So there is a very, very well defined materials and process that's available in the site .ieee.org. I would recommend you to take a look at that actually. And of course, if you have difficulty in creating a site group, but you do have a set of members available, write to us. We can help you with that. We can help you to connect to the local section and guide you how this can be created.
Okay, great. Thank you. We did receive a couple more questions I'm just going to pose to both Sampath and the rest of our panel. So the first question is, I'm working on early detection of dyslexia and epilepsy for young children. We would like to procure capital and other hardware too. Is it possible to fetch a grant under a HAC or site for this?
Great question. A couple of things, right? I mean, this is actually like a very interesting problem space. Definitely, there are possibilities, but unless you put in the right, put in a proposal with the details to it, it's very hard to give a decisive answer, because remember, when you are working with children with disability, there are a few things we want to be particularly we wanted to make sure we wanted to understand, right? You want to demonstrate in your proposal how this is not going to have any kind of a negative impact, and you want to provide data to demonstrate the validity of your approach. And also you also need to account for the legal compliances in certain countries. For example, at least in US, I would say an example here is, if you're working in the state of California, you have something called as CAPA, which is actually again a child online Privacy Protection Act, actually, right? So it's not only the solution, you have to think through from end-to-end standpoint how we are going to safeguard both the local compliances and make sure there's not any negative implications. But with that said, if your proposal is addressing all the aspects what we spoke about, it will definitely will fit under the larger thematic area what we spoke about, right? Providing equitable access to people with medical conditions. So definitely yes.
Okay, great. The next question we received is, for SPS and site members, will they get any added benefit from applying for HAC initiatives in comparison to just a regular member?
Yeah, I just spent about 45 minutes on that today, right? So we spoke about what kind of benefits we are having, right? I mean, you have the portfolio of programs which is provided by HAC. So think about HAC as, as a partner, it's a strong partnering program, right? Our goal here is we want to increase the member engagement for SPS members at the grassroots level. And how do you do that, right? We spoke about the educational program, the project funding program, the global networking opportunity, the global platform, like, the global summit, how you could participate and showcase, right? So these are the value addition which we wanted to provide to benefit our partner SPS, so that it can contribute to, the organizational vitality, more member engagement, and more positive member experience for SPS members. So yeah, the 45 minutes what we spent today primarily addresses your question, basically, like, those are the possibilities what we offer today.
Okay, great. And then the next question, I think, is more of in a general sense, and it might be a little bit too long to get into, but the question is, are there any tips or tricks on how the technology we create can truly be beneficial to society and be sustainable?
Yes.
So, yes.
Great question, George. I mean, again, like we touched upon that, right? So two aspects, right? I spoke about the assessment metrics. I spoke about what is the short-term need versus long-term need, right? The output and outcomes and all we discussed, right? So that talks about the sustainability of your project, right? The second thing is, how is technology a truly beneficiary? That's a great question. That's what we kind of touched upon earlier in the presentation. Why we call this to be a humanitarian engineering program? Because engineering is central, because the need drives the innovation. That's how technology become a catalyst there, right? So that is how HAC programs are very, very vital to the larger vision of IEEE, but at the same time, it's going to help us to add value to SPS members, actually.
Okay, perfect. The next question is kind of both for the HAC team and for SPS, is can an SPS and HAC Grand Challenge be organized similar to what we run as the SP Cup or VIP Cup? Okay. And I can kind of, go ahead, Sampath.
Sure. I think, George, maybe you can help me to fill in on the on the Grand Challenge. But I think, if I remember, Grand Challenge is like a student competition, and you kind of pick up a winner and the best idea, right? I mean, as you can clearly see here, is absolutely there could be potential avenues we could explore. And from HAC standpoint, it has to be connected to a local community. And then if the Grand Challenge can bring out the best-in-class technology, which can then be mapped to a local community, then it actually provides a nice pipeline, for the winners to find a community, and there's a true need, and then technology can play a role to address that need. So if that interconnection can be done, certainly I think there could be possibilities we could explore.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I kind of want to tie it into the final question that we have. Is, have you seen any notable SPS involvement with hacker site events and projects? And Sampath, I'll let you start, and then I can finish up with what we have planned for the future.
Okay, sounds good. So I think the main important call out here is that yes, SPS members have contributed significantly. I mean, I personally know several key leaders who have been part of HAC initiatives. They've been helping us, contributing, and even like the chapter interaction, what we are doing today is one example, right? How we are trying to create awareness and make sure you can truly benefit. There are also projects where SPS members have contributed, like, in many cases, like, but there are examples, but I think we wanted to provide even more complementary avenue. That is why, like I was talking with George earlier today, is that this year we may explore some additional avenues where we will provide additional line of opportunity. But the beginning for that is today's session, right? We want to provide the first line where we want to first connect with you and inspire you. That is the awareness what's happening today. Second thing is we want to provide you an engagement opportunity. That is what our project's funding program, which has opened up right now, you know. And if that's still you have more needs in addition to what we are already offering, certainly we would love to do it. In addition, if there are like any big, like I would say like important SPS conferences, I would be happy to HAC will be happy to organize in-person workshops or digital workshops virtually to benefit our members. So I think the three categories what we spoke about, in terms of the partnership, it is very much on the card for us, and we look forward, working with SPS to make it really positive and impactful experience for your member. Remember, members like you are the heart and soul of IEEE programs, both for HAC and SPS. So without you, the journey is not complete for us. And the mandate or goal for both SPS and HAC is to provide you that necessary, uh, member, experience, enriching experience for you through these critical opportunities. So write to us, if there are areas where you could feel like, you could benefit more or you want us to support you. We'll be happy to look into it and guide you and support you on that. George, over to you.
Absolutely, yes. And just to further on what Sampath has been saying, SPS and the Humanitarian Activities Committee are going to be working for, in the future, SPS has our member-driven initiatives. And so for the next cycle, we're looking to expand upon that, to work hand in hand to develop a humanitarian aspect of our member-driven initiatives to provide additional funding, sponsored both by SPS and through the HAC. So that should be coming in the next cycle, which I believe will be opening up in a few months. But feel free to look for more information for that as that comes out, which will be sent through our newsletter and our email blast to our members. Okay. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. For all of our attendees, if you have any questions last minute, please put them in the Q&A. Otherwise, I'd like to personally thank Sampath for joining today. The event was fantastic. I really enjoyed all of the information. It's very inspiring to see what can be done with our volunteers throughout the world and for humanity in general. So I'd like to leave it up, Sampath, if you have any final words.
I think the only last closing comment is that I want to quote Neoda and Vinso here. I've been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. And so I think today you get to know about these great programs offered by HAC. I think don't hesitate. Write to us. As I said, I want to reiterate, these are like very amazing opportunity that will benefit all class of members within IEEE. So write to us if you need any guidance. We are just one email away to help you out. So with that brief note, I wanted to wish you all a great year and best wishes for you in all your future endeavors. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for joining. We're going to end a little bit early. We don't have any additional questions. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you Sampath, the HAC team, and the rest of my SPS team for joining. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us afterwards. But otherwise, have a wonderful day.
Thank you, George. Thank you all.